So you're making the minimum repayment on your credit card, right? Nice, but you might want to rethink that strategy because I'm about to show you why minimum repayments are a terrible idea. You could even say it's a financial disaster waiting to happen. In general, accumulating debt on a credit card is not a wise move unless you're doing it strategically, for example, to build a credit score, earn rewards, or get purchase protections. And you shouldn't really pay any interest. Unfortunately, some people will use their credit cards to postpone paying for their expenses, which inevitably leads to accruing interest. That's where minimum repayments come in. If there were no regulation enforcing a minimum repayment, debts would inevitably spiral out of control, a notion I've previously addressed before. So these days, the reason why debts seem to spiral out of control is because people add more debt to existing debt. Because if you paid the minimum and did not add any more debt, the balance would eventually clear itself. Therefore, without the minimum repayment, many more individuals would find their lives ravaged by debt. The required minimum repayment amount varies by provider, but it generally hovers anywhere between 1% to 2.5% of the outstanding balance, plus any incurred interest. Furthermore, a minimum repayment amount is usually subject to a lower limit. Say if your minimum repayment drops to £20, a floor of £25 may apply, meaning that you cannot pay less than that amount until the balance is cleared. While the minimum repayment requirement is designed to prevent an uncontrollable debt spiral, that doesn't mean it's an ideal solution, and I'll show you why exactly. Let's assume an outstanding credit card balance of £3,000 and you're curious to see how long it would take you to clear it using only the minimum repayment. With default interest rates and minimum repayment amounts, assume you have three choices. You can repay the minimum, the full outstanding amount, or a custom amount greater than the minimum. With a minimum repayment of 2.5% and a 25% APR, it takes roughly 8 years to clear the debt. Decreasing the repayment to 1% extends this to 15 years. More striking is the total amount of interest paid over this lifespan, £2,005 versus £4,551. If the minimum of the minimum amount has a floor of £5 rather than £25, the situation worsens. Therefore, paying only the minimum can result in a far higher interest payment over a prolonged period. The general guidance is to pay the amount in full whenever possible. However, if that's not feasible, paying any extra amount over the minimum goes a long way in clearing your debt quicker. If even that is beyond your means, here's a strategy that might be beneficial if you're tight on money. As you're repaying your credit card debt, even with the minimum amount, your outstanding balance is falling, which means your next minimum payment will be less. But what if you maintain the initial minimum payment amount instead of gradually decreasing it? You've budgeted for that initial payment, so why not stick with it? This strategy could clear your debt much faster. For instance, if your first minimum repayment was £131 and you continue to repay this amount, you could reduce an 8-year debt period down to 3 years, with the total interest paid falling from £2,002 to £958. This simple strategy could make a massive difference, and it doesn't require finding additional money to repay the debt. So of course, this won't work if you keep adding debt onto the credit card. So first of all, you need to pay all your existing expenditure first, then use the surplus to repay the outstanding credit card balance. I recommend checking out Money Saving Expert's minimum repayment article, which also includes a calculator. You can find the link in the description. So now you see how minimum repayments prevent a debt spiral but also extend the repayment over longer periods, which ultimately isn't good for your bank account. You know what else isn't good for your bank account? The recent UK tax changes, which I've covered here. That's it from me, and I'll see you next time.